everyone, this is Ali Reza, and this time we are working inside Maya. Uh, I should say that if you are using another 3D software like 3D Max, that's okay. If you are going with Blender, that's okay. But I'm going with Maya. Well, first of all, you notice that this is the front in here, this is the positive Z. And there is a cube that I can't select because I put it in a layer that is only renderable. If I deselect it, then we can select it, okay? The cube itself is 1 by 1 by 1. Scale is 1, 1, 1. But first thing to notice, in Maya, you want the settings as Y up and centimeters, okay? The rest is not important at all. So Y up and centimeters. People said that if you move this guy to, for example, 1, I think. No, not that one. Not that one. Sorry, 0.5 and 0.5. So if you put it at 0 to 1 coordinates, remember, this is X, this is Z, this is Y. If you put them there, then you are golden, but no sir, you are not golden. Because then you would have problems, and we will see when the problems come. So first thing, you want the center of the bounding box to be right at the center. The easiest way is to have 0 and 0. But the bottom of the part to be at the ground level. Okay, so if I just go into this mode and zoom here, so front, okay, and top, thank you, no, a bit back, come on, okay, the top is not working. So this is the bottom of our block, and it's in the center, as you can see, okay. So this is our bounding of a block. I always make it block like this and put it on rendering. So I know that everything of my model should sit inside this guy. I shouldn't have a block here, for example, a model here or here, because that would penetrate the blocks beside the block in the Minecraft. Then let's take a look at factory base. It's a model, but of course it wasn't like this. If you notice, these guys are separate geometries, all of them. Then I went into polygon, mesh, combine. So it was one cube here, 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 and this was a cylinder. Now, if I go into wireframe mode, you notice that on top of the cylinder, I have no faces. Especially if I go to faces, you see that I can't select a face there. There is no face in there, okay? And if I go to 6, come on, okay. Why is that? Well, at the bottom, I have a face, and well, that cylinder by itself came with 3 guns. One thing that you want to keep in mind is that Forge don't like 3 guns. So if you are going to use Forge's, what was the name? Special renderer, then you want to have quads. How you can make a 3 gun to a quad is just like this. I break one edge here. So if I go to, come on, edge, and I just select this. This was one edge by itself. So I break it to 2 edges and added one edge here. So I have one quad here, one quad here. And by doing that, I broke this trigon to 1, 2, 3, 4 edges. So it's a quad now, and Forge will be happy. On the other side, on top of this guy, if I can penetrate it a bit, yeah, you see it here now. There is no face here. Why is that? Well, it sits inside this edge, okay? It sits inside this edge, inside this face, I should say. There is no reason to have an edge there to be rendered. Same things for these guys. These guys are legs, but if I can go inside, well, let me do something. Vertices, 4, select you, frame, and zoom in. This should help at least to some extent. Okay, now we are inside. And if I go 4, sorry, 6, yeah, you see that here we don't have any faces again because we don't need to render it, okay? So they were separated geometries. One more thing that I forgot, for God's sake, uh, you may notice a very thin line between this edge and this edge, okay? And it's obvious if I go like here, zoom in, yeah, you see it now. None of these edges for any part should sit right on top of each other, okay? Why is that? Well, Minecraft doesn't like two faces on top of each other, exactly on top of each other, okay? And here, even though these things are very tiny distance in reality, but they are not sitting on top of each other. And well, that makes Minecraft very happy. So that's the factory base, okay? So object mode, select, 6. This is the factory. And you notice that the factory itself sits right inside this edge. This is the edge of the block, and this is very smallly inside. Every side is like that. So if I come here and hit 6 and zoom in, again zoom in, there we go. You see that this is the edge of the block. Here is our model. So there we go. It's more obvious now. So I keep everything inside that boundary, okay? That way. It's smallly inside, but there is a reason for that. Okay, the next part I added is charge pads, okay? You may notice that 3 sides of the block has charge pads. One is down there, and that was the reason I didn't put this guy all the way in. And of course, again, I made sure that there is a very tiny amount of space between these two. Okay, if I move, let me show it here. 4, come inside. You see that. So you see that I left a very tiny amount of space there. Of course, when you look at the block, for example, like this, 6, you wouldn't see that space. Okay, and this is very close lookup in Minecraft. You never can come this far close, but you don't see that. And let me do this show shading. No. Smooth. No, shading. Smooth shade. Oh, sorry, wireframe unshaded. We don't need that. Okay, so this is a very close look. You don't see that in that distance there. Not at all. Okay, so remember this side is front, and that is positive Z. So I'm keeping the front of my block empty from charge pads. Of course, in Minecraft, I would want these charge pads to be the places that RF energy can hook in, okay? So, next part is cables. They are just cubes, okay? And these cables are connecting these parts together. Of course, again, all of them are inside the rendering boundary, okay? Don't forget that. We don't penetrate that. Next part, I added some gears. Now let's take a look at any gear alone. So show isolation view selected and frame on it. You may notice this gear was made by using ML. Of course, let me, no, not that. Okay, let me load the ML if I can find it somewhere. Was that in my, ouch, file open. It's not in desktop. I'm sure it's not in desktop. I moved it somewhere. My computer, no, it's not there. It's in here from, for transferring UPC. Yeah, here. Okay, so I run the mail, and then I need to load this method here. Control V and enter. It will open a window like this. Let me make one. Okay, and where did it go? Where did it go? Control Z, and then here it's radius 6, thickness 2, animation, whatever, generate it for me, and let's frame on it. Oh, it's inside of this guy, so I will remove this guy for a second, and this is, where are you? Frame, come on, show yourself, god damn it. Why don't I see it? Oh, yeah. Okay, so as you may notice, frame on it, frame on it, frame on it, and frame on it. 6. Yeah, it's big. It's too big, okay? So if I just scale it down, or scale it down to the place and frame on it now, well, I don't see it again. Why is that? It's a bit buggy sometimes. Honestly, I don't see it. Delete. And where was the mail? Come on. And automatic, horizontal, clockwise, thickness of 4, radius of 6, generate it. Why don't I see it? New material, and it's Boolean, that's okay. Anyways, reduce it, and normals, reverse, no, normals, again reverse, that was not the problem. Well, I'm in isolated perspective, there we go. So I will move it to the side. This was the gear that I took from that mill, and this is the gears I have now. So I just duplicate it, moving it to the side. If I select both, shift, yeah, you may notice that there are lots of differences, especially in the edges. I removed these vertices at the center, I bind it at the center, and the reason for that is to reduce the vertex count. So if I go to display, heads up display, and the poly count, there we go. So this guy alone has 550 trees, means trigons, and this guy has 550. So what is the difference is this. Sorry. This guy has 116, this guy has 68. So I had to remove those extra edges for beveling and made a very smooth but less gears there. Now, why did I tell you to 0.5 and that is it, and 0.5, okay? Why did I tell you to not use the 0 to 1 space? Why did I tell you to move it to the center? Well, when you move it to the 0 to 1 space, this guy will use not its own center, but an offset center from the origin, and then rotate around the block. No matter what I tried, it would do that. So the easier way is to have all the block in the center, so that the center of the rotation for this gear sits right at the origin, and then offset the whole block when you are modeling it in Minecraft. Okay? And this is the final product. Now, one thing to mention is window UV layout, please. UV texture editor. Now, one thing to mention is all the UVs of each mesh is sitting between 0 and 1. Okay? And this guy is again between 0 and 1. This guy is between 0 and 1. The default is not this. So the default of these wires, for example, of course they are again 4 cubes being combined, but it was not like this. So if I take a look now, it's and take a render there, it looks like the wire is turning around itself, but it was not like this. I tweaked the UVs, so we have a mesh like this. Of course, now if I render to show you the result, you see a very smooth texturing. Well, this won't work in Minecraft. We will take a look there. But there is very special thing to remember. Your textures, let's take a look to the textures. It's in mod repo, source, main, not Java, but resources, assets, JPiston, textures, models, and gears. For example, it's a very tiny texture. Actually, if I open it in Photoshop to be able to take a look, yeah, image, size, it's 16 by 16. You shouldn't go above that because it's not like GUI stuff. Minecraft won't accept anything above 16 by 16 for your model textures. That would, how should I tell it? That would make the game crash because of very huge RAM usage. So all the textures I'm using is 16 by 16. Don't forget that. Okay? Now, next part. Okay, we have our model. Of course, I will save it for you guys as save as, and going into computer, D, projects, repository, Minecraft, and mine, and JPiston mod, and I will add it to source, to source main resources, and I will go into JPiston. I will save it here, and I will call it factory. Okay, save, and I saved it as Maya binary, so a text file won't open it, and I will save it again as Maya ASCII, so you can take a look at it, although I don't recommend it, by any text editor there. Okay, so how do we export them? Well, of course, we don't want this layer because that's only for guiding us, but we want these other stuff. Each one of them is a mesh. One thing I will do, I will come edit, delete by type, history. So I get rid of this big history there, okay? And I like it to be in my tabs, so there we go. So delete history. After I deleted the history, I go into export selection as OBJ. This won't be there by default, so you need to go to window, where was it? Settings and preferences, plugin manager, and here is the OBJ export. You need to tick these two, okay? Don't forget that. What? Who did ping me? Okay. So select your one piece of geometry that all should be quad. sits in the center, file, export selection as OBJ, then you see the settings. We don't want any group. We don't want any point groups. We don't want any materials. We don't want any smoothing, but we want normals. Okay, where to put it? Well, this is the place. Somehow we go into models and we call it factory base. Okay, so remember assets, JPiston models, and we call it factory base export selection. Then for the next part, we select it, delete the history, file, export selection. We call it charge paths. The nice thing about about Maya, and I'm sure about 3D Max, they keep the history of your settings. Okay, so export selection. The next part is cables. Select it, delete the history on it, file export selection, and we call it cables. Then the gears, but now I select them one by one and say, okay, export selection. This is gear top, and finally this is export selection gear bottom. There we go. Okay, and now I can close my Maya and don't save it because we saved it once. Now, if we take a look at our assets, and here we find models, and here we found them, okay? But I will use the sync again. How do we, oh, wait, we want something. In textures, you remember, we have these models, and we didn't add the models from our other project. So I will go into projects, repository, Minecraft, mine, JPiston mod, source, main, resources, assets, my mod, textures, models, and paste it here. So we have two folders called models, one under the textures, one on the assets themselves. Okay, and now if I sync it again, we have the cables and all the textures. So how do we bind a model to a tile entity? Well, first of all, we want the factory itself, the block, and we want to handle stuff here. So first of all, we need to override some methods. So we say override method. The override we want is render as, and I don't see it here, render as normal block. Why are you not showing? Cancel. Well, let's take a look. No, it's extending that. We should be golden now. Okay, so delete, alt insert again, override, render as normal. There we go. Render as normal block. Well, this is not a normal block. We'd return false because we have our own renderer. The next one that we want to override is opaque cube. No, it's not an opaque cube because you saw that it has legs, it has empty spots, so we return false again here. Okay. Next one, we want to override another method that called get render, not get, render type. Come on, you should be overrideable. Again, get render type, yeah, okay. And here we return only -1. Okay, so these three tells Minecraft that, hey, we have a custom block here. Then we need something that is not implemented yet. So we come into our JPiston we make a new package calling it renderer. Okay, and here we add a class called render factory, and we extend it from tile entity special renderer. Where is it? Special renderer. Okay, and now we need to implement methods, and that's only tile entity render tile entity at. The parameters is entity, this is x, this is y, and this is z, and the final one is something called partial tick time. Now, people that worked with Unity knows that there is something called time.delta time. This is the same thing. It means the time passed between the previous tick of this tile entity and the current tick. How much time in seconds or milliseconds passed between these two ticks. That's partial tick time, okay? In the name of Unity, that's delta time in Unity. Okay, now, before doing anything, we need to add stuff. First of all, private, static, final, and that is, again, resource location. Not that resource, where is it? Resource, come on, resource. Huh, what I'm doing? Resource location. There we go. Resource location, and we don't need that. Okay, so we have a resource location. Remember, textures and models and sounds are all resources. So we can bind models, textures, and sounds using resource location. So we call it gear texture, okay, equals to new resource location. The resource location we want is reference.modid.toLowercase, comma, the texture itself, so it's in textures slash models, it's slash gears.png. Okay, so that's one of the textures. The next one is cable texture, and it's called cables. The last one is our charge pad. So charge pad texture, and this is called charge pads PNG. Okay, so this is our textures, but then we want our models, so we call that factory base model equals to new the resource location. It's not in textures anymore, it's in models, and that's called factory base.obj. We can confirm it by looking at our objs here. So it's factory base with capitals now. Factory base. That was my bad, but you can totally do that. So the next one is our gear bottom, and that is called gear bottom. And for the sake of being consistent, I will change them to lowercase. Charge pads, and factory base, and yeah, do refactor because we have it there too, and gear bottom, E, G, and do the refactor, and finally gear top. Okay, so we have them. Now we add our gear top. So this is gear top and this is gear top model. And finally we have two more. That is charge pads. And when I'm doing that, I'm double checking the name. So this is, my bad, lower G there, and this is charge pads, and finally cables. So cables and cables model. Okay, so we have everything we want. Now we want to make models themselves, because remember, these are just resource locations. We want to tell Minecraft, hey, these are the models. So we say private I model custom, okay? And we call it model, model factory base. Same thing will happen for model gear top, model, and why did I do that? Gear, model gear bottom. Then we have our charge pads, and finally the cables. Okay, one thing you may ask yourself, why did I separated each part? I could just go into Maya and bind all of these together, but I want to have flexibility, okay? So first things first, we want to have a constructor of these guys, okay? And these guys shouldn't accept anything, the constructor itself. So we say this.model factory base equals to advanced model loader.load model. The model we want is for this guy factory base model, okay? Control C, and of course we don't need this in front of that anymore. So no, that's good. Remove this part. Come on. And replace this with our, this is the top gear, so gear top model. This is the gear bottom model. This is our charge pads. So charge pad model. And this is our cable. So Control V, and this is our cables model. And did I screw up that? Yeah, I screwed up that. Lower C, thank you. And here is lower C again. So we defined our models from advanced model loader.load model, the resource location. Now we can start doing stuff. First of all, when you are rendering your models, of course, you are working with OpenGL. So we say gl11 dot push matrix. Remember, whenever you have push matrix, you will have dot pop matrix. And everything will happen between these two. Okay? Now we say int dir equals to entity dot get block metadata. We will come to this later, not now, okay? So we say gl11 dot gl transfer f, okay? Now we want to transfer stuff. X, Y, and Z for some reason come as double, but we want floats. So float X, but remember we made it at origin and I said it to move it to 0.5 and 0.5 in X and Z in the code. This is there, so plus 0.5 F, comma, float, typecast float Y and typecast float Z plus 0.5 F. Okay, so this tells the OpenGL, hey, we want to draw everything below in these coordinates. Now, another one is GL11 dot GL scale F, and because we used centimeters, I can use F1, F1, F. If you used meters, then you would have 0.01 F, okay, to convert it to centimeters. I will add something. GL dot GL rotate F. Here I will use 0, 0, 1, 0. What I'm telling is that, hey, rotate everything 0 degrees on Y. Okay? We will come back to this one number later. But for time being, we are drawing it as it is. Then we say Minecraft dot get Minecraft dot get texture manager dot bind texture, and the texture we want to bind is gears. Okay, so gear texture. Then we say, hey, model factory base dot render all. This line will render model factory with the texture that we bound to texture manager. Okay. And of course, then we want to change stuff. So we want to go with cables texture. Then we say model cable dot render all. Okay. Then we go for charge paths. So charge pad texture, and we render the charge pads. So charge pads. Now, I will come back to this code later to draw the gears, but for time being, let's say it's done. And well, how should we tell our tile entity that we have a render factory? Let me take a look. It's not there. It's not there. In our no, where did I register it? Because you need to register it anyway. Was it on none of these guys? Hmm. Okay. I remember that we needed to register it, but I can't find it, so where is it? Find usage. Yes. Find. Oh, come on. Not that, not that. This guy. Find usage. No, 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 no. Hmm. Uh-huh. Well, JPiston mod. Come on. I'll be back. Okay, I remembered now. So in our proxies, in our client proxy, we have register renderer, remember? And here we should say client client registry dot bind tile entity special renderer. The one we want is tFactory.class and new render factory. Okay, and in init, of course, this is an override, and let me see if I am overriding it anyway. No, the only time I'm reading that is in the mod itself. Yeah, in our, come on, mod itself. In our init, after the proxy you see here, proxy.register renderer. So in client proxy, we are calling this guy, and here we say client registry.bind tile entity special renderer, the class of tile entity, and the render factory. Now let's run it. And where is Minecraft? Come on. Oh, we have a problem. Okay, what's the problem? Render factory gl push gl pop matrix. There is some error here. Come on, show your face. Charge pads obj. Did I misnamed it? Charge pads dot obj. No, that's okay. So let's take a look. It says fallback resource manager get resource blah, and you wouldn't see the problem here now because it's a very different obj blah. Something's wrong with our export in Maya. Okay, let's go back into Maya, shall we? Come down. And I think I know what is wrong, really. First of all, let's take a look at our repository, Minecraft mine. jpiston mod, source, main, resources, assets, jpiston models. They are OBJs. So file, open recent, and that is this guy from factory. Yeah, don't save. There we go. And well, let's export them one more time. So export selection, and this time I turn off the normals. It's on computer, die dann auch der progs, Minecraft, and jpiston mod. Source, main, resources, come on, resources, assets, jpiston models, and that was the factory base. So factory base, export selection, yes. This guy is file export selection, that is gear top. And the reason I think that was the problem because we changed the names. So I'm exporting them one more time without the normals again, because honestly normals shouldn't be a problem. File export selection, this is charge pads, export, yes, and finally this is cables. So file export selection, this is cables. And I'm not sure if I exported factory base, so I export it one more time. No. Okay, export selection, and this is factory base again. Yes. So let's try it again. And of course we need to do this, and come on, why can't I minimize you? Okay. So run. And well, same error again. Okay, let's read it. Let's read it. Coder pack, construction, blah, 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 blah. I know that. Okay. What is your problem? Charge pads? File not found exception. Exception. File not found? jpiston models. Did I misspelled anything? Models. Okay, so jpiston. M-O-D-E-L-S. Oh, hey, truck pads? There we go. Haha, charge pads. Yeah, the spelling is very important. The best way is to copy it and then, you know, where was it? Paste it. Control V, okay? Control S and play. Yeah, the best way is to copy paste the names, so to be safe. I was sure the normals was not problem, but now I'm concerned if the normals are working okay. Let's take a look. So now that we loaded a custom model for tile entity, our tile entity is showing the model. But hey, I said this is the front, correct? Well, this is the front. If I put it this way, again, this is the front. If I put it this way, again, that is the front. And of course, we didn't render gears. And remember, I told you that the textures are not as smooth as you think, as smooth as you see in Maya, because, you know, that's a 16 by 16 being all the way up. And yeah, anyway, so we get the custom model. First, we want our gears, okay? Let's add the gears. least now that I know everything is working. Come down. So for the gears, we come down here. After rendering our base model, we want to add stuff. First, on top, I will say that, hey, you know, I have a private, and that is a float, I think. Let me double check. Yeah. Private float, calling it rotation. Okay. And in here, on top of everything, I say rotation plus equals to partial tick time. Okay. Now we want to make our gears to rotate. Okay, that should be easy. We say GL11 dot GL rotate F rotation comma again 0 comma 1 comma 0. We are rotating some amount around the Y. So this is X, this is Y, this is Z. After that we say model gear, for example top, dot render all, and then we say model gear bottom, dot render all. Let's take a look. And as you see, our textures. Oh yeah. Okay, at least we have two gears that are rotating in the same direction. Okay, we have two problems to solve. One, we want our textures to be the true one. So again, I will borrow the gears. I will add it here. But then, hey, I want these two gears to rotate on different directions. Let's take a look. If I put it there and say minus rotation, what will happen in your opinion? Well, the top one is rotating, but the bottom one is not rotating. Okay, how to solve this? Well, to be honest, I tried many things, and the only thing that is working is that we push another matrix and we pop the matrix. So GL11 dot pop matrix. Okay. Then we push another matrix that push matrix, and we GL11 dot pop the matrix. Okay. This is how it will work now. And there we go. They are rotating on two different directions, but with the same speed. Well, that is easy to fix. We want this guy, for example, be the top one be multiplied by 0.3f, so it rotates slowly. This one rotates 1 to f, and we need to multiply it. Okay? So let's render again. And yeah, you see they are rotating. This guy is rotating faster. This guy is rotating slower. And well, I want something to be added. We are on, okay? And we are getting energy, nice. We want to turn it off. And we are not getting energy, but our gears are rotating. I want these two gears to be one way of indicating if we are running or not, okay? How can we do that? Well, here I can say if, well, we cast to tile, we cast to TE factory the entity, then we say dot get, what is your problem? Oh yeah, we need to say another parenthesis here and dot get on switch. So if we are on, then rotate the block, okay? And of course, before that, we want to check if the entity is the proper bond. So if entity instance of TE factory, by all means it should be, but we won't lose if we double check it, okay? Same thing will happen here. Control C, Control V, but this is minus rotation and of course 1.2F, 1.2. Now if I run, okay, they are not rotating because we are off. As soon as turn it on, they will start rotating. Turn it off, they are not rotating. And by that, we finished our custom model, but as before, we have two different problems now. One, the model is not siding when we are putting it on different directions. The second one is the item in our hand is not getting the shape of the block itself. Okay, so in next episode, we will work on the rotation of this model and adding these charge pads to the RF system so that when we rotate the model, only the charge pads that should connect to the model. So I can do something like this. And you notice that none of them are connecting because we added only the bottom to the connection side for time being, okay? And let me do this. Fill it. Thank you. Thank you. So we know that the bottom side is working. Okay, so rotation of the block and handling the sides that it can accept energy for the next episode. Have fun, everybody. Bye-bye.